Hello everybody. Tonight's video is over a project that we're going to start in class, and that project is called the 20-line project. Continue watching this and I'm going to explain what we're going to do. Here's an example from a previous year of a project that somebody chose to do the picture of OSU, which is why I used it as my example. Here is the rubric for what your picture is going to include. You're going to create, or for those of you who are not artistic, do not worry, you can also trace a picture onto graph paper that includes a minimum of 20 horizontal, vertical, and slanted lines. Your picture is going to take up a majority of the graph paper page. Now, your picture is probably going to have a whole lot more than 20 lines. However, we're going to choose 20 lines to focus on for this project and find the equations, domain, and range of those lines. Now, your drawing needs to include two sets of parallel lines. So your first and second lines, as you label them on your graph, need to be parallel to each other. Your third and fourth lines need to be parallel. Now, we talked about parallel slopes. You need to make sure that your slopes are the same, that they're parallel to each other. Then you need to have two sets of perpendicular lines. Somewhere in your drawing, you need to have two lines that would be perpendicular to each other if they were full lines instead of line segments, which is what we're really doing here in this project. Then you are going to have 8 slanted lines, any form, positive slope, negative slope, I don't care. You need to have 2 vertical lines and 2 horizontal lines. All of that together will give you 20 lines. Remember, your drawing is going to be able to probably have way more than 20 lines, but you're going to choose 20 lines to use for the project. Here's an example of a puppy dog that somebody has done. Notice how their X and their Y axis are drawn out. They're labeled X and Y. They have numbered their lines here so that it was easy to locate the ordered pairs. So when I'm grading it, when you're working on the project, I can quickly see instead of having to count all of these. So I'll be looking for that to be done. Their 20 lines that they used are clearly labeled. They circled the number that it is. So when I'm grading number 10, I know that I need to look right here at this line number 10. And they need to be based on the numbering system that I told you right here. Make sure you follow that system. Here's another example. The LSU Tiger here, their picture is very good. It's labeled with their numbers. Their X and Y axis are labeled and numbered. All of those things that you need. Here's a Christmas tree. We did this around Christmas time, so some people like to think festive. But whatever you're interested in, whatever you want to do your picture on, it's completely up to you. Here are the rules. You're going to draw and label your X and Y axis on your graph. You're going to label each of your axes. You're going to then, once you have that stuff done, then you're going to start drawing your picture or tracing your picture. If you want to copy and paste a picture from the internet onto a Microsoft Word document or something, stretch the picture out so that it takes up the majority of the page, and then bring it in on Monday and we can stick it up next to the window with the graph paper on top, and that way the light will help you and you can trace your picture onto the graph paper. You are not drawing your picture or tracing your picture tonight. We're going to start that in class. All I want you doing tonight is coming up with your idea, what picture you want to use, and going ahead and printing a picture if you do not feel comfortable freehanding a picture. Remember, your picture must have at least 20 lines. They need to be numbered according to the rubric. You're going to label the coordinates of each ordered pair that is used, and then you are going to find the equations of each of those 20 lines. Now, for the first 16, you're going to write the equation in all 3 forms that we've learned. This is a level 2 test grade. Therefore, you are going to prove to me through this project that you know how to write equations in all forms: point slope, slope intercept, and standard. So you're going to go from one form to the next and show me that you can write equations based on given ordered pairs. So all 3 forms, when you do 17 through 20, those are your horizontal and vertical lines. So we clearly know that those equations cannot be written in the 3 forms. There's only one way of writing those equations. That's why you're only doing the 3 forms for numbers 1 through 16. I'm going to give you a packet in class where you're going to work all of your work. Now, for those of you that are not the neatest people, when you write, you're going to want to do all of your work on a separate sheet of paper, and then once you're happy with all your answers, you're going to transfer that work very neatly onto this final copy. I'm going to be very strict with you about the neatness and the amount of work that you show. Because you are getting a level 2 grade for this, I have to see your thinking. I have to see how you calculated the slope. I have to see you plugging in your numbers to get point slope form, and then taking that equation and transferring it to slope intercept, taking slope intercept and transforming it into standard form. If I do not see that and you said, oh, I did it in my head, I cannot grade your head, and you will not get level 2 credit for something that was done in your head that I cannot grade. It has to be present on the paper that I give you, very neat, very clear, that I can follow your thinking. If you do not show your work, you will not receive credit for that particular line segment. It needs to be neat and easy to follow. After you write your 20 equations, or your equations for your 20 different line segments, you're then going to find the domain and the range of each line segment 1 through 20. We're going to write those as inequalities. We've practiced doing this in class a bunch, and so this will be your test over whether you can do domain and range. And then finally, at the very end, you will color your picture neatly using colored pencils. This is a level 2 grade with 100 points. The project is broken down in the following way. All the different equations for your 20 lines are worth 60 points. Having the domains and the ranges correctly for your 20 line segments, that's worth 20 points. The graph being colored and being done neatly is 5 points. All your points being labeled is 5 points. Your labels, your axes labeled and numbered is 3. And then the work on the project sheet is clear, neat, legible. That's 7 points. Again, I am not afraid to take off all 7 points there if it is not neat and clear. So there's nothing wrong with doing your work on a separate sheet of paper and then transferring it. That's what I would recommend. This is an example of what your work should not look like. If this was my picture, see how I can kind of see what they're doing. I can see a little bit that they're finding slope here, but then they've got all these things circled, they've got arrows, and they've got things written in all sorts of directions. This would be an example of what your work should not look like. I will be taking off points if I see anything like this. Here's an example of what your work should look like. Picture is right here again. These are a couple of their different line segments that they chose. I can see the slope. I can see point slope form, slope intercept form. Very neat, easy to follow. All the work is there. I can clearly tell that this person understands what they're doing and how this process is done. So your assignment for the weekend is to decide, what do you want your graph to be? Anything you're interested in, whatever it is, just think of what you want it to be. And then when we come to class, we will start drawing that on the graph paper that I give you and start working on the project. I hope you guys are excited about it. It should be a lot of fun. It's always neat to see what the students come up with and see everyone's different pictures. So think outside the box, come up with a fun idea, and I will see you later.